Hi everybody, my name is Dartpro, I'm a Sonic Adventure 2 battle speedrunner. Today we'll be having a look at a new strategy for Crazy Gadget. This was originally discovered by a guy named ItsPersonnal, aka Andy, one of the taskers for this game. Very clever guy, and turns out you can fall out of bounds a little bit earlier than usual and make it to the goal ring. Just like this. Now, this skip is pretty difficult, and it bears some explanation. This is actually a recording I did earlier just to show you guys what's going on. So I'm going to switch channels right now, and I'm going to show you guys the inside of my game instead of this movie. So let's have a look and try and see if we can figure out why this works. Here we are. This is within the game itself. So turns out that within that room, not all the death planes are as complete as you would think. So just to sort of give a demonstration as to why this kind of works, I am going to fail to kill myself, if that makes any sense. So I'm just going to come down here, and hopefully we will be able to break out of bounds. And we're out. So I literally just jumped over a little sort of curtain death plane that extends down from that surface, and at the top of that chamber, there's no coverage of death plane. There's a sort of a slot between the death planes, if that makes any sense. I'll try to do a better job of showing it, because obviously it's very difficult to see. That is something we'll get into a little bit later. So I'll try and show you about where the slot is. I probably won't be able to get out of it, but I'll show you visually where it kind of is. So if I come down here, spin that jump, and come up here, that's about where the slot is. It's sort of where that 45-degree angle at the roof of this room is, right where it meets the horizontal surface. It's kind of weird. But that's not in and of itself useful, although it's kind of cool. You can see where we were falling to. It's sort of the end area, but there's no way to get to the end like that. But this prompted the question of, can we get out another way? And the answer is yes. It turns out on this wall, just like we saw, there's sort of a gap. Well, there's one on this wall too. It's just a little bit tougher to get to, because here we can fall straight down and out. Pretty easy. But this way we, need to do something a little bit more specialized. But the gap in the death plane is generally in the same area, so let's see if I can show that off as well. It's right about here. It's right about there. Obviously I died. In fact, that's much quicker than actually getting it, because then we would have to wait on me to die again. But it's right around there. You saw it in the original recording that I just sort of spin dash up and out through that wall. So you're probably asking, well, why is this so difficult? I mean, you can see what you're doing. You can get out of bounds by just jumping over the edge. Well, it turns out that the end is actually kind of far away. Like, really far away. And so you need a lot of momentum and distance to be able to get there. So this presents us with a bit of a puzzle. We need to do this at a super high rate of speed, and we also need to be able to get out of bounds. The slower you go, the easier it is to get out of bounds, because you have more time to think about it, more time to see stuff, more time to do stuff. But you don't really stand a chance of getting to the goal ring. And in fact, getting to the goal ring is just barely at the edge of possible. It is possible, you saw it done, but it's really difficult. There are a lot of factors that go into it. And I'll try and show that a little bit better as we go through the recording later. But I just kind of want to show you the setup here. So the death planes that we have to dodge are kind of important. You saw the two death planes. That wall that you see below us, that pit, it's sort of a box. If you touch those walls, you're going to die. The roof here, if I were to jump down and then back up again underneath this wall right here, going up and out, we would die. There's a roof death plane. Also, there's sort of a curtain death plane extending down from this wall right here, about, I don't know, a couple sonic diameters. But the crux of that one is that you have to spin dash jump off this ledge. It's the same one that kills you if you fail to spin dash jump doing the normal Crazy Gadget skip, which is a pain in the butt. Also, interestingly enough, the death plane that's the roof on underneath this wall is right on the corner, that very edge of the checkered surface there. If you touch that, you'll clip through at high speed and die. So there's a lot of stuff here that will kill you, and that's part of the problem. So in order to get out of bounds here with speed, you need to spin dash jump off of either this ledge or this box right here. You need to go down and underneath the checkered surface on this wall. You need to go up again just a tad to get out of bounds through that 45-degree angle, through the little slot in the death planes. And then, after all that, you stand a chance at going somewhere. And that is, of course, to the very end. So, because it's so far to get to the goal ring, you have to maintain as much speed as possible out of the spin dash jump. So it's absolutely vital that you get a near perfect spin dash jump, that you keep as much momentum of it as you possibly can. And then we're going to manage it in kind of a clever way to maximize our chances of making it to the end. The route here, if you go directly to the goal ring from spin dashing off that ledge, will take you sort of to the side of the goal ring, but that's actually not the easiest way to get to the goal ring, or at least it's not the safest way. So we have a little trick that we can do to give ourselves a backup strat. I won't be able to show the backup strat immediately because it's not in the recording, and it's difficult to record these things, and I know plenty of people are waiting on a video like this to see what's going on, to be able to play with this at sort of a head start instead of starting from scratch. So at some point I'll have to produce a backup strat video. It's pretty simple, and I'll show it to you once we're at an appropriate spot, but you guys are probably getting tired of watching me just have Sonic stand in a corner. So let's switch out to the other recording, and then we'll go through this piece by piece. And I'll try to explain as much of it as possible. Like I said, it's difficult because it's basically just going to be in stop motion. I'm not really a talented video editor, so I'm just using what I got. But I'll do my best to explain as much of it as possible along the way. So let's Alt-Tab out here to the video, switch it over, and there's the victory screen again. Now, you see the time here? This is actually a terrible time for this. The times you can get, right now a time was set not even a couple hours ago, that was 47 seconds, and I believe the best time I've ever seen for a normal Crazy Gadget skip is 105. Most people will range in the 110s to 120s. So if you're in the 110 to 120 area and you get a sub 50, which is what I got, and I'm terrible at this stage, you're laughing. That's like 20, almost 30 seconds time save over the standard CG skip. That's nothing to sneeze at, so it's a pretty significant skip if you can get it. So let's have a look at this bit by bit. So I start from the checkpoint, which is probably what you're going to have to do a lot in practice. I've done this in single segment a couple times, and I mean, it's no harder than doing it from the checkpoint, but you only get it one chance. Now the nice thing about saving 20 to 30 seconds is that if you fail this and you die quickly, you get 2 to 3 shots at it, and you can still at least match a Crazy Gadget normal skip time. So you have a little bit of a buffer there if you're kind of shaky on this. On the other hand, 3 shots disappears quickly if you die really slowly, or, if you have real trouble with it. So it's not the safest skip in the world, but it does have some padding there if you need it. So let's scroll forward a bit. This starts off just like the normal Crazy Gadget skip, but we're going to hop over here. So I put Sonic up on here. Right about there. That's the spot that I like to start from. There's some complicated geometry going on here, believe it or not. The first guy to do it, ItsPersonnal, I actually did it from the left side crate, which makes your life a little bit more difficult. Because, of course, the problem here is that we don't have enough distance to make it easily. So placing yourself farther away from where you need to go, that causes problems. And the problem being, it's harder. And what we don't need to do is make this skip harder for ourselves. You can also do this from the crate right next to Sonic right now, and you will probably find it a lot easier to get out of bounds. But there's some stuff associated with that. So the one I choose is from this ledge. It's the one we normally do the normal Crazy Gadget skip from, and I choose that for a couple reasons. The first one is that for some reason I find it really difficult to spin dash jump off the box. That's not really a scientific reason, it's more because I'm bad than anything. But my second favorite spot to do this from is the dead center of the bottom crate on the right side. I've gotten comfortable with it, but I feel like it's not quite as good of a starting point distance-wise, because you're like, what, 1, maybe 2 Sonic diameters closer to the goal ring? And if you can keep your momentum just as well, and you should be able to based on the
Joey has
geometry,
connected.
you won't have to worry about it. So that's one of the reasons. The second reason is because I want to front load the risk associated with this skip. So when I first fell out of bounds, I had to fall all the way to the end death plane there to kill myself, and that wasted, I don't even know how many seconds, probably around 20 or 22 seconds, something like that. Whereas here, if I fail the skip, if I screw it up and I don't get a good spin dash jump on this little ledge, I'm going to die immediately. So it'll only take a couple seconds to die. I'll waste almost no time at all compared to another attempt. So if you die immediately on this ledge, like a complete failure, you're probably looking at around 10 seconds per attempt. Then, so if it saves 30 seconds for you, you're looking at 3 attempts before you start actually losing time. And 3 attempts is nice. If you do it off the box and you screw up the spin dash jump, like you don't get the jump before he's off the box and so you just spin dash off of it, you can still make it out of bounds. In fact, somewhat easier than if you do the jump, because the camera plays ball a little bit better with you. On the other hand, if you get out of bounds without a jump, you're almost guaranteed to not make it to the end. I have not managed to do it myself, and I wouldn't rule it out as being possible, but you're in for a heck of a time if that's what you got to do to make it. So chances are you're going to die, and if you're already out of bounds, you can only die on that end death plane, so you're going to lose a whole bunch of time just from the attempt. So it's more likely that you're going to die early if you do it from this lower ledge, and that's the big reason why I like doing it from this lower ledge, is it front loads the risk so that if you fail, you have less time wasted versus it failing another way. You can't possibly do just a normal spin dash off this ledge. It will instantly kill you for the same reason that the normal Crazy Gadget skip kills you if you fail at the spin dash jump. Okay, that's an explanation of why I like the ledge instead of the box. So there's another thing. I'm as far away from the corner as I can be. And the big reason for that is momentum keeping. The closer I get to that corner, the more abrupt my turn has to be to get around. If I touch the edge of that corner, I'm going to die. The kill plane is, I don't even know if it's sticking through the wall or Sonic goes through the wall or a little bit or which way that is, but if you touch that corner, you'll die. So the goal here is to come as close to that corner as possible by going as straight as you can off this ledge to get to that little out of bounds area. So the closer you are to that corner and the straighter you go, the better you'll keep your momentum. That's what you need. You need as much momentum as you can get. But if you're too close, you'll die. You're going to hear that a lot. If you do this too much, you're going to die, or if that happens, you're going to die, because there's a lot of dying involved in this skip. Even if you succeed, you're still going to die, but you'll win first. So I want to make my life as easy as possible for keeping that momentum up and keeping the spin dash able to be straight. So the closer I am to that corner, and the farther away I am from the edge of the edge below me that we would normally take down to the normal Crazy Gadget skip, the less I'm going to have to swerve Sonic to get around the corner. The less swerving I do, the more momentum I get to keep. You can try it yourself. Do a spin dash jump and then turn in midair. You'll see all your momentum just disappear into thin air. And that if that happens here, you're hosed. You do not want that to happen. So that's why I'm sort of where I am. You can play around with it, with where you are in this little area. It doesn't affect the distance a ton. It more or less just affects the comfort with which you can keep your momentum during the spin dash. So, like I've been saying this whole time, straightness of the spin dash is key. But you can't keep it totally straight. There will be just the tiny bit of curve. You'll have to swerve just slightly around the corner and then back up just a touch to get out of bounds through that little gap that I showed you earlier on that wall. I mean, I died to it, but that's pretty much where it is. Okay, now the other part of this that you may have seen if you were paying attention during the preview of what the skip is that this pretty much whole section is blind. And that is part of the nastiness of this trick. So there's going to be a sizable portion of this trick that is just you can't see. And in fact, I'll scroll it up here so you can see what the camera jams on. So you're going to see me do as straight as a spin dash as possible. Now, one of the ways you can tell that you did a good spin dash is if, one, you came close to that corner, and two, it happens super fast. If you get a really crappy spin dash, like you come too far down and away from that corner, it'll take longer for you to die on the kill plane if that's what happens. Or you'll just have no distance at all and you'll be nowhere near the end. That's a good sign that your spin dash isn't straight enough and that you need to cut it closer. And you need to cut it really, really, really close. Like, you'll die constantly on this when you're practicing this. And that's just a sign that you need to change the way that your spin dash is. If you die on that corner, you need to be a little bit less straight. If you die because you're not enough distance or because you're dying to that kill plane, you need to change up the angle of your spin dash a little bit. And there's a lot of ways this can fail. So let's scroll it up a bit to show what the camera's going to do. Let's advance it nice and slow here. There we go. So this is pretty much what you're going to see for a little bit. If you made it this far, chances are you've gotten out of bounds. And this is a good sign. Notice the spin dash, notice the angle of my control stick on the left side. That's kind of what's happening here. And I'll run through this again so you can see the whole thing in sort of full motion. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide the control stick along the right edge of my controller down till it's pointing more or less to the right. It'll be a little bit of a different angle, but the importance here is that you have to slide as the camera sort of pans around with you, so that Sonic is facing towards the goal ring, and you need to do it smoothly. Now the trouble, of course, here is that it's very difficult to explain to you which direction Sonic needs to face because you can't see anything. I can see the same thing you can, which is not much. And this is the same thing you're going to see during the skip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide the control stick down, and gradually the camera's going to flip around so that it's looking back at Sonic's face, kind of like during the Crazy Gadget skip normally as you fall to the goal ring, but a little bit more extended. So I'm going to have to follow the camera around with the control stick so Sonic points left with just a little bit of down when it finally finishes. Right now I want him to the right with a little bit of down. But eventually we're going to be looking at Sonic's face, and we'll want him left and down, and I'll point that out. But the biggest thing here is that the camera's going to pan around, and you need to keep the control stick sort of synchronized with the camera so that Sonic doesn't do any waggly motions in the air. Because, again, waggly motions in the air are going to kill your momentum, and you need every ounce of momentum you can get. You really have to ring this one hard to get all the distance that you need out of it. So let's move this forward a bit. And watch the control stick wrap around as the camera does, and watch as the camera does something really strange. There. So you can see the control stick warping around as the camera warps around. Now the level's going to do some weird stuff around us as everything goes into draw distance and out of draw distance, and some things are going to be rendered more easily than others. That's kind of immaterial. That's not what you want to pay attention to. What you want to look at is what is Sonic's angle. You can see I'm left with a little bit of down, and I want to keep that as smooth as possible because that's the direction that we want to get to the goal ring with. It's very, very important that you do this as smoothly as you can, because the smoother you are, the better distance you'll get. The better distance you get, the more likely you are to live. And living at the end of this trick is very important, because if you die, you're in trouble, because you'll be dead. So I'm going to advance it forward again, and I'm going to keep Sonic at about this angle, and I'm going to be looking for a sort of green wall, and that's a cue for me to do something. Now notice, this entire time I'm holding down the jump button. Just like any spin dash jump, the longer you hold A, the slower you'll fall, and falling slowly here is a godsend. So you need to be prepared to hold A down pretty much this entire time, and then do a pretty good homing attack cancel. If your homing attack cancels are good, you'll get a little bit more distance out of it, and then once again you'll be in good shape. Because again, you want everything you possibly can get to help you out with this trick. The distance here is very, very close to not viable, but it's just barely on that inside edge of possible. So I'm going to scroll forward until we see the green wall. No, that's not it. There we go. So, this is a major decision point for me. So, at this point, if you go back and watch the recording, the way that I approach the goal ring is very specifically chosen. If I were to draw a line from where we came from to directly to the goal ring, it would be underneath Sonic right now. We're above it. That's a very active choice. I've decided to do that for a very specific reason. And we're going to have to fix that. So we're above that line, and we need to come back down to it if we want to hit the goal ring at the end of it, because otherwise we're going to pass above it and die painfully, and that's just going to look dumb. You don't want to look dumb on stream. So what I'm going to do is when I see this wall, I want to see a couple of things. One, I want to see where I am horizontally. You can see I've just passed through the edge of this. That's actually not very good. I want to pass to the left of the edge of it as far given this. I want to be actually to the left. This tells me that my spin dash jump was actually not that great. It turns out it was just good enough, as you've probably seen if you watched the beginning of this video, because, well, we got the skip. But this spin dash jump is not that great. And that's not good. But I realized that by seeing this. I realized I've just passed through the edge. I've not gone as far as I could have gone. So I need to change my approach here to try and get this. So that's one thing that you can gain from this. Two is you can figure out how good your angle holding was during that blind section. So this is a little bit more complicated. So if you were to do the same spin dash every time, if you were a robot for that section, and then you were just doing different stuff as you did that blind section, like you were holding a different angle or you were doing something different to keep up with the camera, you can kind of tell where you are. So if I was over to the left more on this wall, I would guess that I was probably too far to the right and not enough down as I was keeping up with the camera. Like, for example, that would be equivalent to this angle being Sonic only going to the left and not down. It would carry me further into this wall, but if I got to the end, I would find out I didn't go enough down, and then I would go straight over the top of the goal ring and die. Not good. The same thing is true. If I don't cross the edge of this wall, that's a reasonable guess that I've gone too far down, and I need to go over more during that from that blind section. So based on where this wall is, I can sort of guess where I put Sonic. Normally, if I was doing this skip quote-unquote perfectly, I would want to see Sonic coming through this section of the wall right here. And that would tell me I'm pretty much on the path that I want. It was a good spin dash and everything's going well. If I find myself over here somewhere, I've gone too flat with Sonic and I need to point him down. If he's over here somewhere, then that tells me I've gone too far down and I need to bring him over a bit to get to the goal ring. Now, the closer you are to the line coming from where we started to where we're going, the better distance it's going to feel like you're going to get. Like, you've taken the more direct path. But I'm choosing to go left and then down to the goal ring. And there's a reason for that we'll see here. So I'm gonna do a couple things here. The first thing I'm going to do is, because I've taken him for that over section, now I need to take him down. So I'm actually going to turn Sonic so that he's facing sort of at a 45-degree angle, which is a little bit steeper than this angle here. And that'll take us to the goal ring. That's very important that you change the angle down a bit, because, again, that's what's going to take you to the goal ring. And I'm also going to do a homing attack cancel, because I haven't done it at this point. You can see I still have this blue aura, and that means I have a homing attack cancel, and by golly, you're going to want all of that. So just shortly after I restart the recording, I'm going to see the homing attack cancel go off, and then Sonic's going to turn just a little bit more down from where he is now. So let's see if we can scroll forward to see that. There's the turn. You can see now he's at a bit steeper of an angle. So this is carrying me towards the goal ring, which is down this way somewhere. And let's scroll it forward just a touch to see where we land. See that green tube that just went past, that's another indication. If you go through the edge of that, you're looking good. But by this time, your bet is made, so you're either going to make it or you're not. But that sort of gives you a preview as to what's going to happen. No. Boom. Okay, so that's the goal ring. So I just passed through the very right edge of the goal ring, for which I'm very grateful, because that was not a very good spin dash jump, as I've already said. And there was some stuff wrong with that, but it was just barely good enough, which that's all you need. So you're probably asking me, why on earth would you take that non-direct method of going over and then down? Why wouldn't you just go straight for the goal ring if it gives you more distance? Well, I can't show it here because I don't have a recording of it. But this roof up here, the top of this is solid. So if you go over and your distance is crappy, you're not going to make it down far enough to the goal ring. You're going to land on the roof. But the roof is solid, and you don't die from being on it. You can actually land on the roof with the weird gravity, and if that happens, you can jump over this edge and homing attack into the goal ring. It's not what you want. It loses you a couple seconds, but versus dying, it's an outstanding backup strat. If you were to take a direct path, you would come in through the wall right about here, and if your distance isn't good enough, you would die right about here. And the goal ring's right there, you can reach out and touch it, but you're dead. So that's why I say go over and then down. Because it enables you to do this strat where you can land on the roof if your distance isn't quite good enough. Whereas if you go down and over, you're going through this wall, you're going to die. There's no chance to save yourself. And if you do a direct path, you're going to come through right about here. So that's why I've changed it up a bit so that to do over and down. In fact, that's the strat that Andy used when he first put out the first video that says, hey, we can do this in Mission 1 and get to the goal ring. Was he had to land on the roof and then homing attack into the goal ring. Is it the prettiest thing? No. But if it works, it works. So that's part of the reason why I've designed that fall the way that I have and the way that I prefer to do it. You can do a little bit more aggressive angle and hope that you make it to the end. If it works for you, more power to you. But this is my personal preference, just because I feel like this skip needs as much help as possible to make it viable during single segment. And I feel like it is viable during single segment. As we develop it, more stuff might change, but this is just a preliminary way of kind of showing off why this skip is the way that it is, why people are doing this weird stuff where they keep killing themselves on Crazy Gadget to the side of the wall that people have been asking about. So I'm hopeful that that will clarify a little bit of how this skip works. It's still in its development stages, but this is the one that I feel pretty confident in. So if you're into speedrunning this game, give it a shot and have fun.
Problem.